Hey, welcome everyone. This is Snoo. Today I want to discuss my new favorite Magic Find craft, which you can see highlighted right here. It's featuring an experimented base that came all the way back from Heist. This is a really underappreciated, I think underrated item to craft. It's called the Simplex Amulet. We're going to talk all about it. This is an amulet that I made, and in fact, I chose to use in my Magic Find build. Even though it's like ultra endgame, I opted for this item over the more conventional Eyes of the Great Wolf, which I think would surprise a lot of you. We'll talk about a little bit about why that is and how I craft the item. I've had many people request a video like this to showcase the craft. However, we are very late in the league. I don't think it's going to be that useful for many of you. If I just talk about this specific item, it was really painstaking, extremely expensive. Honestly, it cost almost a mirror to craft this item. However, there are some very potent alternatives, like the one I have up here that I decided just to craft for fun. Didn't take hardly any currency at all. I mean, a drop in the bucket in terms of the pain and the expense of the other one that I'm using. This one right here is very cheap to make. I'm in the realm of like 10 to 20 divines, maybe. And you can see that is a really powerful amulet. Probably a little bit oogly-eyed on just how high some of those numbers come out to for an amulet. So I'm going to talk about how I made this one. We're going to focus a little more on the easy one, of course. So let's go ahead and use some of the resources. I'm going to use Craft of Exile, PoEDB, and then the wiki just real quick to talk about the base here. This is called the Simplex Amulet. Most items, of course, well, I guess basically all items have 6 affixes, 3 prefixes, 3 suffixes. This amulet, you lose 1 of each. So you're down to 2 prefixes and 2 suffixes, an absolutely horrendous downside, but it is equaled out by a mathematically equal upside, which is giving 25% increased effect of the explicit. Now this rounds down, so it's still kind of bad for a lot of things like, for example, +1 all skills. Okay, you're not going to get +1.25 all skills, naturally. But for, you know, certain modifiers, does prove to be really, really beneficial. And there is another hidden downside, which is that this sort of specialized, these are implicit modifiers. It says implicit modifiers cannot be changed. Yeah, that means you don't get any of the conventional implicit modifiers like, I don't know, 20% rarity or some attributes. We can't get synth mod. We can't get double corruption. You can still get the enchant, of course. But that is something to take into account. And I suspect, you know, all things considered, this must be why many people don't really opt for this item very often. But you can still put, as you could see before, conqueror-influences. You could still fracture the item. And it would be interesting since you can only have 4 modifiers. It should be pretty easy to fracture, as a matter of fact. But yeah, we're just going to focus on the conqueror-influence because I think this item definitely lends itself to being an Awaken Orb Slam. For any of you who are familiar with that, you can probably see why that could be a really good strategy to craft this item. And yes, lo and behold, that is how we're going to do it. So again, this came from Heist League 3.12. And we're going to take a look at PoEDB. Now, I like magic finding. You don't have to do magic find, but magic find does come from a shaper influence here. Quantity of items found, pretty low roll, item level 85 plus to get tier 1, and then a much more conventional thing to hit would be mana reservation efficiency, okay, which might be the redeemer side or shaper. But in the case of slamming an Awaken Orb, we're going to go for something like this, which only requires item level 75. And that is quite interesting. It means that our Simplex Amulet, for the easier of the 2 crafts, only needs to be a minimum 75 item level. And so what I'm going to try to do is slam in tier 1 quant and tier 1 mana reservation efficiency to get a kind of a really strong all-purpose MF quantity amulet piece of gear. A terrific substitute for a super expensive Eyes of the Great Wolf, for example. Now, of course, a lot of people just go for the conventional rare amulet, but that comes with some issues like how do you close the 3rd suffix? Trying to get all the right prefixes can be pretty tough. It's a lot easier with this amulet, and I'm going to prove it to you right now. So what I did to make that amulet on the top is I had this one slammed into a Simplex amulet that was only item level 80. Or I think maybe, yeah, 78 or 80, something like that. And the one that we slammed into it, which was with the Awaken Orb, was already Shaper influenced, and it already had quantity of items, tier 1. You could, of course, just buy some random item level 85 Shaper influenced amulet and roll it yourself. Alteration span, probably the cheapest way to do it. I went ahead, because it's late in the league and I don't care, went ahead and just found one that was primed and ready to go. Then I bought a Simplex Amulet, item level 75 plus, and Redeemer slammed it, of course. Well, I had to, make it magic, I guess. Go ahead and remove one mod. I had something like this with an open suffix, and I went ahead and Redeemer slammed it. So throw a Redeemer Orb in there. And, I was hoping I'd hit mana reservation efficiency, but I didn't. That's fine. And then, just kind of worked on it a little bit. This amulet kind of interacts weird. In fact, Craft of Exile is wrong in this process. If you alteration spam this amulet, it doesn't work. Nothing happens. It spends the alteration orb, nothing happens. You can only really do like Essence Scour or Chaos Orb in the actual game. I don't know if this is a bug or what, but basically you have to do this until we hit reservation efficiency. And then, by the way, also another issue here is that Craft of Exile doesn't automatically put 4 modifiers. Anytime you Chaos Orb something, it's 4 to 6 modifiers. You can only have 4 modifiers, so it's going to be 4 modifiers every single time. As you can see, there's some issue with the programming here. It's not perfect. It thinks that 3 might be an outcome. In fact, no, it will always be 4, which means you always have to annul, which is the downside of crafting on this amulet. It involves a lot of annulling, which can be painful, but that's really the only major downside to doing it this way. So for the sake of speeding up the video, we're going to go ahead and put the proper suffix on. So we're going to go down and find the Redeemer suffix. Here we go, mana reservation. Now, you could check in the PoB for your own build. Maybe you're better off getting Grace reservation efficiency or Hatred reservation efficiency, and you'd actually get more out of it. For most builds, Global is going to be the best, especially if you have a lot of ores, which is probably going to be the case if you're running Magic Find build. You're going to be running, I don't know, Purity of Elements, Grace, Termination, Haste, Hatred, Heralds, Vitality, Precision. I mean, there's all kinds of ores that Magic Find bow builds especially like to run. Okay, so this is fine, right? You need to have just one Redeemer mod on it, and the other one needs to have just one Shaper mod on it. It needs to be the right ones. We start with this. Not that expensive, what we call it, conqueror-influenced crafting is way cheaper than it used to be, thanks to Eldritch influence crafting taking, that role, so to speak. So we're going to slam this into this. To do that in Craft of Exile is a little bit tricky. You have to go to export here, which is, you may or may not have known. You have to go all the way down here. You got to copy this whole string and slam it into here. So we press this, post data here, boom, we got it. Now, this is not going to be the outcome. I promise you, it is going to fill up both prefixes in the process. So let's say, for example, this is the result. All right, so you can see I'm guaranteed a tier 1 Shaper. Now, I have a mod on here that's impossible to hit on this amulet normally, because my amulet's only item level 80, but it's okay because the one that I slammed into it still gets to keep its tier 1 status, which is why we only need item level 75 for this craft. Pretty cool, and going to definitely make it easier to craft because your base doesn't have to be item level 85 Simplex Amulet, which definitely going to be a little more expensive and harder to find. But anyway, here we go. So this right here is the most risk bricking process right here. This is great. This is the thing I love about this craft. We haven't even gotten into the really expensive part, and we have now entered the time when really incur the only real risk in the item. And that is, as I mentioned earlier, the annul. We have to annul. We're going to hit 4 mods, but you know what's really nice? We didn't hit a junky 3rd suffix because that's not even in play, which is one great thing about the conqueror-influenced crafting here. Now, you could do 1 suffix, 1 prefix, but that'd be pretty stupid on this item because the whole advantage of it is that you can close the suffixes instantly with the perfect mods that you want. Or prefixes, I suppose. But anyway, I'm going to try and 50-50 annul here, and I failed. Now, I did in fact fail when I crafted this in real time. It means you have to start over. That's okay. I blew a conqueror-influenced orb. I had to buy a base, a couple bases, Shaper base, and then I had to buy Simplex Amulet, Redeem Orb, and a Conquer and Awakener Orb. Really not that bad, considering how good the endgame product is. So we have to do that all over again and try again. Well, 50-50 failed again. 50-50 seems more like 100. 100. This game broken? Okay. I annulled the same mod, I think, 5 times in a row, or 6 times. What are the odds of that? Anyway, 50% of the time, I swear, it's going to take a prefix off. That's all we need. We're basically done. I mean, it's all downhill from here. So what do? Okay, I want to clean the prefixes. Well, it's pretty easy. We're going to do the good old meta mod crafting. This is where the expense starts to kick in. But it's fine because we're pretty safe from here on out. So prefix side, we're going to do craft. Suffixes cannot be changed. And scour. Yep, no surprise there, right? Now, what do you do from here? You're going to like, or maybe you would have thought I would have reforged something for that. No. This is the safest and best way to do it for as a conventional craft to get the most value for the least cost and least amount of risk. This is definitely the way to go. So we're going to do it again. So yeah, we've now blown 4 divines just to get to this point, and we're going to Aisling. We're going to Aisling. Now, Aisling's very expensive right now, but the conqueror-influenced materials are very cheap. Earlier in the league, conqueror-influenced materials a little more expensive. Aisling's a lot cheaper, which is why I think this is somewhere around a 10 to 20 divine craft at the very high end on average. So we hit the Veil prefix, and if we go in here and we see Veil prefixes, we're going to see they're pretty good on Amulet. We got area of effect, area damage, projectile speed, projectile damage, melee damage, melee strike range. So I don't know which one's best for you, depending on your build. I think for most people, it's probably projectile speed, projectile damage. But no, really, it's probably max life, right? Which is the one I have. Now you see, we get clogged up with a lot of waiting on mana, max mana. But we can get around that by, of course, blocking. And so we're going to block by just putting a little bit of mana on here. Maximum mana. Oops, that's wrong. Let me redo. Oh, I'm on the wrong thing. That's what... Hold on. We're going to go down to craft, maximum mana. Where are we at here? Maximum energy shield, maximum life, maximum mana. Okay, it should be the craft, I think. Yes, okay, craft. There we go. This is what it needs to look like right here. Very easy, and we're going to unveil. And we have, honestly, like 90% chance or higher to hit max life. Very, very, very high. Worst case scenarios, we're going to be stuck with projectile speed, projectile damage. Fine, whatever. But anyway, we hit max life, and there we go. You can see the number is even higher than the maximum. It says maximum 60, but I got 70 there. Well, that's because 25% increased effect modifiers, right? And then we get to rebench whatever you want, okay? It could be damage while leeching. In my case, I'm really going to be, in this case, triple dipping in mana through the catalyst in the end, which is going to serve me really, really well. I'm going to show you here right now. We're going to do benchcraft. Let's see, I got to scroll all the way down here. There we go, non-channeling. There we go. Okay, I believe that is the right number. No, apparently it's that one. Okay, in fact, again, this is the 3rd time we have kind of a programming issue with Craft of Exile. It's not actually 9, it's 8. Okay, if you take 1.25 times 7, round it down, it's 8, not 9. But anyway, this number will actually be 9, as you can see. And then we catalyst it up with some fertile. And you can see I have 3 modifiers that are affected by this. It's really awesome. And so we get mana reservation efficiency of skills, 20% increase, max life, 20% increase, and non-channeling skills, 20% increase. This number will in fact be 10. But anyway, it's done. We're done. I didn't spend hardly anything on that. Incredible item for that. Now again, it doesn't have to be quantity of items found. It could do something else. It could do dot multi or any other slam you might want to put in there. Mana reservation efficiency is going to serve almost everyone well. Now, in my case, I went ahead and just divined it because, I'm made of currency, so I can do that. But if you were to divine this perfectly, you go for 12-12, or in this case, it would be 14-12 on the suffixes, and well, you might get really unlucky, I guess. Looks like I'm getting really unlucky. Wow. This is the part where if you want to, you can just throw currency at it. You finally hit that. And then you would change this back to suffixes can be changed if you wanted to have a literally perfect item. Oh, that was actually perfect there. Okay, 87. And then you revert it back. Boom, done. It's now perfect. This is perfectly rolled, perfectly crafted, relatively cheap. I mean, relative to the value, relative to the complexity, I think it's pretty easy and fairly cheap item to make. And you might find yourself wanting to use this amulet next league. I certainly am. I think there's a pretty good chance you might find me wearing this exact amulet somewhere in the early mid game next league. But anyway, there it is. So that is how to craft a perfectly viable, mid-tier magic find and all-purpose amulet that is going to solve a lot of your reservation problems. I suspect for many of you who are trying to run almost every aura in the game, you probably give an arm and a leg to have a whole nother massive mana reservation efficiency roll on your item, and then anoint it with sovereignty and call it a day. Anyway, that is how to craft that one. Now, how did I craft the really expensive one? We're going to get into the much more expensive one. All right, so we're going to start over. Emulator. We're going to create new item. Jewelry, amulet, Simplex. This one needs to be 85 plus. And I'm going to skip a step here because it's going to come automatic. I'm going to have already slammed in, and it's not going to matter. We're not going to craft it off of the Awakened Slam. We're just trying to slam the influences together. We're going to be crafting it a different way, as a matter of fact. And that is going to start with Essences of Scorn. Now, there were 3 separate ways I had boosted the crit multi up higher than its maximum number. The maximum number for tier 1 crit multi is 38%, but tier 0 Essence of Scorn go up to 41%. Then you have the Simplex Amulet, which gives 25% increase, and then you have 20% increase further from the Catalyst, crit Catalyst. So that's 3 separate ways, resulting in ultimately 59% increased crit multi, which is getting kind of close to the maximum number that Eyes of the Great Wolf can give, as a matter of fact. So what this entails is spending a whole bunch of currency slamming in tier 0 crit strike multiplier until I hit either tier 1 Fizz is extra cold, which could be Shaper or Redeemer, as a matter of fact, or I hit tier 1 quantity of items found. In the case that I hit, I'm not going to show this to save time, but in the case that I hit Fizz is extra cold, then I try to double annul to clean it to just crit multi and Fizz is extra cold, and then benchcraft a prefix, and then YOLO slam for tier 1 quantity, and then the item's basically done. Extraordinarily low chance of pulling it off that way. What's much more likely to happen is what I am going to show you, which will be, let's say, okay, for the sake of saving time, we're going to go into suffixes, and eventually, I think based on the cost of these essences, it was about... It took an average of about 4 divines worth of essences to do this, to just hit the first step, basically. And that was, there we go, this right here. So eventually, I would hit tier 0 crit multi and tier 1 quantity of items found. All right, next step is a 50-50 annul. Maybe not 4 divines, maybe about 2 to 3 divines worth of essences to do that. Okay, 50-50 annul. Oh, we missed. And we missed. And we hit. Okay, good. Now, this is really, it gets really ugly from here and really expensive from here. This is how I indeed crafted the amulet, though. Again, definitely involves lighting your money on fire. And, it's more for the prestige of having a uniquely challenging item to craft, as well as getting a whole bunch of damage that I wanted. Was my primary motivation to crafting this. But people requested how to do it. So we're going to continue with how to do it. All right. Suffixes cannot be changed. What we need. Crafted suffixes cannot be changed. Reforge cold. before I click this, I want to show you just how hard this is to hit. All right, we have Redeemer side, gain fizz is extra cold, 500 weighting. We got more cold here, so out of like 2,000 weighting there. Oh, sorry, 2,500 weighting there. And then a crap ton of cold options here with an extra 4,250 weightings. And yeah, something. So anyway, you know, it's like a 1 in 8 chance or something like that. I'm just like spitballing here. And then the Shaper Influence also has a garbage cold roll, and then it has the right cold roll as well. So you do get a little bit of a boosted chance of hitting because it could hit Redeemer or Shaper. In the case of my amulet, it was actually the Redeemer modifier. So that's kind of cool. But anyway, let's go ahead and hit it and see what happens. If it lets me. Oh, there we go. Reforged cold. Okay, boom. Oh, wow, hit tier 1 cold to attacks. Pretty nice. And again, this would always close the prefixes, which upon receiving that information, you can probably think, whoa, wait a minute. Just how expensive was this? So, you know, again, every single time, just to hit this point is probably about 7 divines invested or so. Wait a minute, was that the one? Where's my history there? Oh, that might have been it, but I can't seem to check again. I think I might have rolled over. Oh, wow, I hit it. Okay, well, this would be finished, except again, remember I said, I have to stress enough. Do not mistake thinking you're going to end up with 3 mods here. You're going to end up with 4. You're going to end up with the garbage one. And it's probably not going to be any good. It's not going to be tier 1 life, right? You could get strike gold and hit tier 1 life, maybe. But it's probably going to look something like this. What a beautiful amulet, except for one modifier. How do I get rid of that percent armor? Well, you guessed it. 1 in 4 null. Actually, that's a pretty good outcome because at least the other 1 in 4, I can just kind of go back to this step, right? So I would go back. Suffixes cannot be changed. And boom. Do it again. Oh. Nope. Well, no, obviously I wouldn't do that. Oh my gosh, look how lucky I am. Actually hit that again. Very lucky. All right. Well, again, 1 in 4 null. Nope. And it's gone. But again, here I would annul again. And yeah, I figured this might happen. So I'm able to show you what happened here. So this is kind of how I would have progressed through here. So I do any kind of random craft, doesn't matter what it is. And then, I don't know, let's see, YOLO Exalt for tier 1 quant. Tier 1 attributes, that's pretty insane to hit. I would definitely keep that, sell it, and redo from the start. That's pretty insane to hit tier 1 attributes. Anyway, let's bring it back here. Okay. In my case, it took me 3 tries to hit the 1 in 4 null, which is technically lucky. And I was able to then bench craft whatever I want on here. And this is really nice, actually, because, you know, I got a lot of flexibility. I can bench, you know, life if I want. I can bench, even do something quirky like get a little bit of, wait, not mana per second. Sorry, this one. Get a little bit of extra rage regen. Wait, I don't. Sorry, whatever. I don't know. I can't see it here. I don't know why I don't see it. Isn't there one with increased mana and then life regen? No, maybe that's helmet only. No, that shouldn't be. Anyway, I don't see it on here. But, you know, reduced mana cost, whatever, maybe. In my case, what I ended up playing with most of all was this one, actually. Non-channeling skills, reduced mana cost, because it helped reduce me from like 11 to 3 mana, or something like that. But anyway, it's done. Or in the case of the most damage of all, I went with the leech, which I'm having a hard time seeing on here. Oh, I finally found this one. It's way down here. That was the one I was looking for earlier. Here it is. So yeah, you get a really big leech number. And then catalyst in this case, we're going to go with unstable. Boom. And it goes all the way up to 59%, potentially. 58. So 18% extra as extra cold. That's a huge number. 59% crit multi, 12% quantity, 53% damage while leeching. And that was a finished product, or 8 minus mana cost. That was the finished product to my ultra endgame cost. I think I invested, I don't know, I want to say 400 to 500 divines in that amulet, and I'd say I was maybe even a little bit on the lucky side to end up only investing that amount. But anyway, that is how I made the harder version of the two. But anyway, that's going to be it for the video. We'll close it out there. Cool, an interesting crafted video. These resources: Craft of Exile, PoEDB, PoE Wiki, in case you don't know what they are. You can check them out. Very, very good resources for anyone who is interested in crafting. We're going to leave the video there. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you're interested in running Simplex Amulet. Let me know if you're one of those really few people who's already in the know about how great Simplex Amulets were, if you're using them. Or let me know if you think this is actually overblown, overwrought, and it's really not that good. I'd be curious to hear your thoughts in the comments below. On that note, I'll see you in the next video as we continue the Crimson Temple extravaganza. Bye for now.